Well, hello there. Thank you for joining me for the latest edition of Telile 24/7. I'm your host, Adam Cooke, and we have a very busy show for you this week. Later on in the program, Telile's very own Becky Bourinot interviews Cape Breton-Canso MP Mike Kelloway. I'll sit down with Kevin MacEachern. He's the head of the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society, and we'll talk about a recent funding announcement that will help the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank expand and become more accessible. We'll also have two recent items from the Richmond County Council table, including a discussion on whether more electric charging stations should be added to different parts of the county. And we'll follow up on last week's story about unsightly premises cases around the Strait Area with another part of our conversation with John Bain, the director of the Eastern District Planning Commission. But first of all, accessibility in Richmond County. It's been a hot topic in recent days as the county prepares its formal accessibility strategy to be submitted to the province of Nova Scotia within the coming weeks. At Committee of the Whole, Council discussed the strategy, and Warden Amanda Mumbercat had a few items to bring up in terms of how the strategy is coming together and whether the municipality would like to get an extension on the deadline for submitting the accessibility plan to the province. Here's Warden Mumbercat to talk about that right now.
We do have consultants selected, the successful consultants on our project to do the accessibility plans for both the county and the village are Intelligent Futures and Level Playing Field. It's a collaboration between the two. They recently developed the accessibility plan for the County of Kings, and so they've got some really great local relevant experience. It's a pretty dynamic team. It includes planning and engagement experts, as well as a person with both universal design expertise and a lived experience who will provide strategic direction. And the whole, I think, proposal, that whole kickoff meeting really demonstrated capacity and passion. So stay tuned for more formal updates and consultations on that.
At the same time, Warden Mumbercat and those working on the Richmond County accessibility strategy are hoping they can get some wiggle room on the final deadline required to send this plan to the provincial government. Although this deadline was extended by a year to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, Warden Mumbercat told the recent Committee of the Whole meeting that the pandemic and recent winter storm conditions have further hampered these efforts.
I had sent a letter copied to county councillors this morning, maybe midday, regarding our accessibility plans. The letter was sent to Minister Johns, who is the Attorney General. And the reason I sent it to his attention was because it was his office. Well, it was the Office of the Attorney General under a previous government who originally notified us of the extended deadline of March 31st, 2022 for us to have our accessibility plans in place. And I will mention that I did CC that also to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and our local MLA as well. Just want to clarify, it was not a formal request for an extension. The timeline that our accessibility committee has been working on is to have the plans completed on time. However, that timeline is very much based on if nothing goes wrong and nothing goes off track. And I think what's happened in December alone with the situation with COVID has definitely thrown some cold water on our optimism in terms of counting on nothing going off track. So the letter really was to encourage government to consider that as an overall extension that they might grant across the province to give municipalities a little bit more time to get those accessibility plans done. Particularly in our case where we have public consultation that we want to conduct. So, given COVID, whether we thought at this point, I thought it was just wise, especially after some correspondence between Laurier and CAO Don and myself on the matter. And so I figured it was wise to shoot that type of a request off to the minister, or I guess request for consideration. And I think I just want to mention that our last meeting, our initial kickoff meeting, I should say, with the consultants, which happened on Friday afternoon, there were members of our committee who lost internet during the call, lost power in the snowstorm. I think the consultants were pretty impressed with how adaptable we were, juggling phone and using generators to try to get back online, or your phone, or whatever the heck it was. But the bottom line is that it really was a lesson in anything can happen. So we were just, at that point, wondering if maybe we could be looking at getting some leeway on that. We're adaptable, but we're not miracle workers. So that letter has gone off to the minister. I did send a copy also to NSFN just to let them know that this has been kind of surfacing to our minds. And the response I got back from them was that, like they're hearing that other municipalities are in the same boat. But as of yet, they haven't, ours was the first piece of formal correspondence they had seen on it.
This time of year is often the busiest and most critical for food banks all the way around the Strait Area and across the province. After all, after the Christmas rush is over, you don't see food banks being promoted nearly as heavily as you would have during the holiday season. But at the same time, the temperature is dropping, the poor weather is coming, and more people are still in need of food bank assistance just to be able to survive day to day through the winter. Well, the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society got some good news in that regard over the Christmas holidays, and I decided to speak to Kevin MacEachern, the chair of the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society, to talk about it. Pleased to have with us for this edition of Telile 24/7 the new board chairman for the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society. He is Kevin MacEachern, joining us from his office at 1015 The Hawk. Kevin, thank you for giving me a couple of minutes for Telile 24/7 today.
Oh, thank you, Adam, and thank you for having us talk about this worthwhile endeavor that we're going to talk about.
No trouble at all. We have some big news for the food bank coming up in just a moment. We'll talk about that. But can you give us a sense right now of how things are going for you folks at this stage of the COVID-19 pandemic? I've been able to speak to your predecessor, Larry Evans, about this. There are moments when the pandemic really affects and impacts how the food bank's able to carry out its services. What can you tell me about where you and your colleagues are right now?
Right now, the food bank, the shelves are full of a lot of things. But that being said, the food bank can always use items. And the other thing that I have to say is we've been very fortunate the past number of years to add more volunteers. We have Larry just, moved and retired, is that we are looking for community people to reach out to us and join the food bank as a volunteer, because that's another piece, because we, as you and I both know, Adam, being involved in a lot of community organizations, many hands make like work.
Yes, definitely.
So that's the key that we want to promote right now, is that, we can use extra work. The food bank is in pretty good shape. However, as you just stated, now as we get in through January, February into March, we will start seeing a need for people. And I have to say the generosity that has gone on the past 40 years has been overwhelming for the community, but we can always use extra help.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you think would help right now? And part of the reason I asked this question is because you folks have just started a campaign to encourage specific kinds of donations to the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank. So what are some of the things you folks are looking for at this moment?
And I don't always like to say what the exact items are, because Mary Johnson, who actually runs the food bank right now, should be calling me up in about 10 minutes. Kevin, you forgot to say this. What's really important is to think about your own household. Like, what are the things, that an everyday family needs? So we do say the word food bank, but I tell you, a lot of things that can be used, are the household items, like toothpaste, like other needs, that families would use all the time. So think of those types of things. There's always a great need for food, yes, but consider those pieces that could be used. So I can tell you, yes, toothpaste is always a big thing, deodorants, those types of things too can help an awful lot. So, those are the types of things. And that being said, Adam, if you wish, is that we can send you a list for Mary, because what's interesting, depending on how donations go each week, there'll be a need for different items. But if you don't want to go with the traditional food type of donation, by all means, some type of a healthcare type of item is always welcome. And that being said, if you give us an item that our clients don't need, then we will actually, share these items with Leaside or other organizations in the community that can benefit from them.
Mhm. And it's important as well, too, to break through the myth that's always existed around a food bank in any community, that it's only the very, very downtrodden, homeless that would use it, couch surfers, those trying to find a place to live. But often it's a person or even an entire family that has to make a decision as to whether they're going to pay the electric bill in January or whether they're going to actually have groceries for themselves and their children. Are you finding that that kind of myth still persists in this area? And are you folks able to break through that with what you've been able to do with the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank?
I have to say it is getting a lot better. And, I think that's the key, you mentioned, is that, all of us, no matter where we are and, our backgrounds, we've all come into a situation through our lives where we could have used some help. It just so happens that these families need help with food. So I think it's important to realize, okay, whether you go over to your neighbor's house, okay, on the weekend and help them with a carpentry item or plumbing or whatever, all that's going on right now is these families right now, for their circumstances, they just need food, and that's where we are. And so I think it is getting better. And the key thing that I really want to state is to those families right now who are struggling with their bills, because we are well aware there are people out there who could really use our assistance. And, we really want to let people know, okay, we see this as a service, okay, to help you get through your time of need. There's be no different, okay, if you all of a sudden, okay, if you broke your arm and you need a neighbor to help you shovel your driveway. All we're doing is provide you a service, okay, to help you get through this time, okay, and then hopefully, then down the road, you can repay that back with helping someone else in the community.
Now, the food bank itself just recently got some help from various levels of government in terms of a financial assistance package that was recently confirmed. Can you tell us a bit about what happened there and what kind of an impact it's going to make on the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society?
Oh, for sure. And, one of the great partners we have is the town of Port Hawkesbury. The town has been involved with the food bank from the very beginning. We are in one of their buildings. They've been a great supporter in a lot of ways, especially their staff. I do want to say a shout out to Gordy Snook and Terry Doyle, who worked on this funding piece from the very beginning. And Gordy's done a lot of work over the years with the food bank. So I think that's important. I also want to thank Council, Mayor Brenda and Council, for their support of this project as well. So I was very happy that over Christmas, Honorable Mike Kelloway made a beautiful announcement on behalf of the ECOA minister, and it was for $144,000. And, the key thing about the food bank, and as I said earlier on, the community is amazing to help support us in the food and other supplies that we need. The one thing that we don't get a lot of, and I don't want to phrase that, the one thing that people don't think about is our operational side. So if you think about, okay, we are in the old fire hall that's been in Port Hawkesbury forever. Of course, Adam, you know about it. So the one thing that we need to understand and appreciate, that a building is a building. A building needs to be up, kept up, okay, that needs a new roof. And that being said, when the food bank went in there, it's done some renovations over the years, but it wasn't set up for its desired use right now. So there are things that do not work very well in operating the food bank. So this funding is going to help us do some renovations inside the building. It's also going to do work on the outside to provide protection to our clients and to make their shopping experience much better on the inside. It'll also help our volunteer workers to set things up. So that's the really important piece about this, is that the money that people are giving, okay, on a weekly basis, and food, okay, is this renovation is not going to impact that piece. So the other piece about this too is, again, it's an old building. Accessibility is not as good. Now, there has been work done to make it better, but this renovation is going to actually make it, okay, to the standard where it needs to be. Of course, Nova Scotia is going to accessible buildings, I believe it's by 2030. So that's going to help there. The other important piece about this is, we have this thing called climate change. And so
Yes.
it's important for all of us to think about our carbon footprint. So what's great about this renovation is we're getting to install two, a walk-in cooler and a walk-in freezer.
Okay.
And so what that's going to do for us is that right now we've been very fortunate over the years to have donations of everything, but you got to appreciate, okay, just think about Christmas time, we tried to provide a beautiful, Christmas dinner, turkey dinner, okay, to all of the clients. You know what it's like trying to stuff a turkey in your freezer at home. We'll try and stuff turkeys into freezers, okay, for our clients, and think about the other fresh produce that we may have over time. So what happens when we have these big events where we need a lot of stuff, we had to rely on other businesses in the community, the town itself, the civic center, to store this stuff. And then we had to, of course, marshal it in and bring it in. So by us having these two coolers, we're cutting back on the transportation of these items being stored across town. It's also going to allow us to get rid of some older equipment. So our carbon footprint should be reduced as well as part of all this. Those are the wonderful things that this funding is going to do for us to make the food bank a much more accommodating operation.
That sounds like a very ambitious strategy, and want to speak as well to one other organization that food banks across the province depend on, Feed Nova Scotia. Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society has had a great relationship with this provincial organization based out of Halifax. How has it been being able to receive food supplies from them, especially over the course of the pandemic?
Excellent. It's really interesting how, as with a lot of organizations, this pandemic has made us to think outside the box of how we deliver services. So, that being said, Cape Bretons, Cape Bretoners, Nova Scotians, we all have this feeling of helping others. So the one thing I can say, and also the provincial government has helped with Feed Nova Scotia. So through the actual pandemic, we have not had an issue, okay, being able to help our clients. Our biggest concern is there are people out there who are not benefiting from our service.
And I think it's helpful at this point to let people know that this food bank doesn't just serve the town of Port Hawkesbury. You folks cut a really wide range in terms of where your clients come from.
Yeah, and basically what we tell people is, listen, if you're in need and you don't live in Port Hawkesbury, no matter where you live, just contact us, either phone us. And of course, I know, Adam, we're going to share the post a bit later on, but our phone number is 902-625-3255. Okay. Or you can email us. But again, if you're in need, call us and say, hi, this is where I live. I need help. What can you do for me? Okay. And we will make sure you get the help you need. So I don't want anyone thinking, okay, well, I really don't, belong in Port Hawkesbury. No, call us and we will make sure you get looked after. So yes, we have a bigger area than Port Hawkesbury, but my mention to anyone, if you live anywhere in the Quad Counties and you need help, call this number and we will make sure that we can either help you or we'll pass your information on to other association food banks in the area to make sure you're looked after.
You mentioned the poster a moment ago, and I do want to draw some attention to the current campaign that the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society is launching, just looking for very specific kinds of support from local residents. Can you talk a little bit about that, Kevin?
Yeah, and we've talked to people over the years, and as I said, when we do food bank drives, we get a lot of generosity, but a lot of people don't realize, okay, that we are a charity. So what's really going to be being a charity, if you give us a cash donation, now again, if you want to e-transfer it to us, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, or if you wish to, mail the money to us, you will get a tax receipt for that. And that being said, as you've heard from this interview, that we are doing a major renovation. So, by all means, if you wish to have that money go towards the food bank, say nothing, to the food supply, say nothing. If you'd like to have this money earmarked to our renovation fund, then please just write on high, this is for the renovation fund. and then we'll make sure it goes to any future renovations. So again, there's two ways to get a hold of us. You can either, mail us a donation. That being said, I'm going to call out the Mayor of Port Hawkesbury, Mayor Brenda. She's offered, listen, contact her anytime, and she will make sure that she will get any donations to us. You want to mail to the town, you can mail to the town, or you can e-transfer us. And the email is very simple. It's just porthawkesburyfoodbank@gmail.com. And again, remember everyone, if you want to give a donation and want a tax receipt, we need your full name, your complete address. So that way we can fill out the tax receipt and get it to you. Because if we don't have your address, we can't mail you the receipt.
We're winding down here, Kevin, and I remember interviewing Annabelle Butts and Mary Johnston about the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank not too long ago, and they recalled that back in 1991, when the food bank was first set up, they had been asked, when will you consider this operation a success? To which Annabelle and Mary both said, when it closes, because nobody wants to see a food bank operating. But that being said, you folks have a lot on the go. You have a lot planned for the coming year. The federal donation certainly helps a lot. So is there some hope, both in terms of being able to serve the people that come to the food bank, but also to serve them well and do so, as you say, in a carbon-friendly way as we head into 2022, as this new year begins?
The key with all these things, it would be great to that, if people can have a living wage and can get on. But I think at the same point is we need to set up a situation for everyone so that it's a wonderful and a caring experience for them. And that, just simple things can, as sometimes it's not the big gesture. Adam, we've spoken this over the years. Sometimes it's just a friendly smile from somebody, or someone just simply walking up and saying, "Hi, how you doing today?" So this is the whole piece with this renovation, is setting up the food bank so that we can better serve people. So that way, if they're coming in, for our service and our help, they feel that number one, they are welcome, that they are cared for, and that the experience they have overall is a wonderful experience, and that itself may help them make their day. And I think that's the important, we got to remember about everyone, is that everyone could use a little bit of happiness in their day.
Definitely. We've covered a lot of ground, as I expected we would in a short time here, Kevin. Thank you for giving me a couple of minutes. Did you want to add anything else about the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society just before we wrap up?
Sure. And again, just thank you everyone for your help over the years. Again, if you wish to give us a donation, we would appreciate that. Again, we're looking for volunteers. Feel free to reach out to myself or email us or call us. Or again, Mayor Brenda is always happy to talk to people if they want to volunteer for the many organizations in the town.
All right. Well, we appreciate you giving us some time, and we appreciate you and all your fellow board members and volunteers for putting your time into the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank. So, Kevin MacEachern, thank you so much for joining us for Telile 24/7 to talk about it today.
Been my pleasure. Thank you, Adam.
Kevin MacEachern is the chairman of the board for the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank Society. We've been speaking to him via Zoom from his office in Port Hawkesbury. Stay tuned for more Telile 24/7 in just a moment. Now, you might recall that Kevin MacEachern mentioned MP Mike Kelloway during the interview we just did about the funding announcement for the Port Hawkesbury Food Bank. Well, Kelloway has been busy with several other announcements in recent days, and our own Becky Bourinot decided to sit down with Kelloway and chat a little bit about some of these announcements and how his Liberal team is dealing with various aspects of life in Cape Breton-Canso. You can see the full interview on Telile's YouTube channel, but here are a few excerpts from when Becky Bourinot sat down with MP Mike Kelloway just a few days ago. Take a look.
You've been making a lot of announcements.
Absolutely, through the Canada Community Revitalization Fund. So that's actually a brand new fund. It sort of has a certain lifespan for this year and part of next, that focuses on making investments, money, for community groups, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's external or internal to a community group, really just helping to contribute to the great work that groups throughout our riding are doing, especially now during COVID, but after we get out of COVID, community groups have been essential ever since time immemorial in Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia. So it was a big focus of mine, Becky, to be ready for this. And so I worked with a lot of community groups, and a lot of community groups have applied for this new fund that I helped create along with some other MPs. And I'm excited about the announcements that we're making. So we've made several announcemements this week to different groups throughout the riding. And we're going to be working our way from the CBRM up to Richmond County, up to Inverness County, to Guysborough, and to parts of Antigonish County. And I'm excited about it. And I wanted to make sure that our riding was first at the gate. And we are. It's the community that has really powered through during this very stressful time and continues to do so right now. And so we need to invest in community associations. Yeah, there are a few things in the works for Richmond County. And again, leadership in Richmond County, I mean, it's growing. I see so many familiar faces at work to improve the community, and I see new faces pitching in, whether it is looking at community collaborative clinics, whether it's looking at new trail systems, whether it's looking at recreational facilities outside, whether it's looking at new businesses too. There is a change afoot in our riding. There is a change afoot in Richmond County. And it also speaks to, I think, leadership. I'm impressed with how we're working together. So I'll take an example. Trevor Boudreau and I are working exceptionally well together. He's progressive conservative, I'm liberal. And so I would say to that, so what? You know what? We need to work together. Trevor gets that, I get that. It just happens to be that I think he's equally as committed to the community. And that's my prerequisite. Are you interested in helping the community? I don't care who you are. I don't care where you live. Are you interested in helping your community? Then I want to partner with you. Same goes for the warden and council of Richmond County. We're at a time where leadership matters a lot. And I'm impressed with Amanda Mumbercat and the entire council that is looking at changing how we do things for the betterment, not just changing them for the sake of changing them. And again, myself and the warden and the councilors and the deputy warden of Richmond County, I'm going to be meeting with them very soon, probably next week, I think. So I'll be doing a virtual tour of all the municipalities, so the wardens and the mayors and the chiefs and councils, to look at the coming year and what are we looking at in terms of priorities. That's what we've done every year since I've been MP, and this past year has been an interesting one. We've had a provincial election, we've had a federal election, and we've had COVID, and then we had the emergence of the Omicron virus. But nothing has changed the fact that I have so much optimism for the riding. Last year we made about $15 million, $15 million investment, Becky, into small craft harbors, and many of those announcements in Richmond County. Why did we do that? Because small craft harbors and the ocean sector, the fishery sector, that is a monumental, humongous industry for my riding, for our region. And we need to invest in infrastructure so we can do more and do things better and more efficient and more effective. And I was really pleased to be in Richmond County to make those announcements. And I look at our commitment, and we talked about this on several of our interviews leading up to the election and during the election. And I heard loud and clear from seniors on the importance of an increase in OAS and GIS for 65 to 74. As you recall, last year we did that for 75 and up. So that made its way to our party platform. And I can tell you, when people say, and it's easy to be a cynic today in today's world, that your voice doesn't matter. Well, I can tell you, your voice does matter. I heard loud and clear from seniors all over the riding to say, Mike, can we get 65 to 74? Can we get an increase in GIS and OAS? And I know other MPs heard the same thing. So your collective voice and my voice in caucus, along with other MPs in their communities in caucus, has made a difference. It was in the platform, and that's a focus of mine this year. OAS, GIS, you know, and consequently, to just touch base on that, you know that I have a youth council that advises me on youth issues, and also that they do work in community. That's going exceptionally well. We're going to do the same thing for seniors. We're going to have a seniors council, and we're going to be putting out in our mailouts, Becky, are you interested in serving on a seniors council? It is not a liberal seniors council. It's a seniors council that's connected to my office, that provides advice, recommendations, suggestions, and also a little bit of community work attached to it, because I'm big on that. And that's going to go out probably in the next couple of weeks. And if you're interested, you see it, send it back to me that you're interested, because I want this to be well represented. I just don't want this to be a CBRM thing. I want this to be a Cape Breton-Canso thing.
And that's what it should be.
Yeah. And that's been our hallmark from day one with our mobile offices. And we were able to do our mobile office in part this year before December and November came with Omicron. And I had a really interesting comment yesterday on that. And it was from an individual in Heatherton. So we went to Heatherton and set up in the school. And they said, Mike, this is the first time that they could recall that an office set up federally in Heatherton and was meeting with Heatherton just like a regular business day. Now, you know, we've done this in Arishat, and we've done this in Lordways. We've done it in St. Peter's. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change things that we can change in the riding to better engage, listen to, and be part of the communities. And I've been in Richmond County so much that I feel like, you know, it's a second home. And in fact, we have a bungalow in Richmond County, so maybe in some ways it is a second home. But that's what you do. In my mind, that's why we increased our vote. We increased our vote in this last federal election by 8 percentage points. We won it by almost 4,600 votes. That was a good showing.
We have a lot of seniors here who are very active, and we're a resilient bunch, let's face it. And if there are ways ahead, these seniors are definitely going to have some great input. So,
100%.
A huge council.
Yeah, Becky, listen. What I've been able to get from the youth council has been a learning experience for me. Number one, the young people are interested not just in policies that affect young people, but policies that affect everybody. And they also want to contribute back to the community. So, and again, with the youth council, we have representation from all municipalities. So that's number one. Number two, on the seniors council. If I'm not mistaken, now other MPs may have it, but I couldn't identify if they do or not. But I think we're the first. That said, to your point, seniors have experience, perspective, work ethic, resiliency. And I want that to be a part of my advocacy in Ottawa. So I'm one of 338. And I always believe this, and I say this to my staff. I want to have as much resources, much intel, much community intelligence, ideas when I'm in Ottawa that come locally. And a lot of times people forget where they come from. And for me, that's not a problem, because it was drained in my mind by my mom and dad early on, is that listen to the people. Listen to people that care, that are invested, that are committed, that have passion. And we have a lot of those in our riding. And so that's why the Seniors Council is going to be formed. So it is going to be formed around providing insight and advice on a whole host of topics, but it's also going to be a council that looks at giving back in some form. So for the youth, they have a couple of projects that they're working on, and they don't have to be large, Becky, to have an impact in community. They just need to be they need to have heart, perspective. and an intended outcome. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the Seniors Council, adding to our Youth Council, adding to our mobile offices that are put on pause for the moment. But they'll emerge this year, no doubt about it. And again, I'm very optimistic. We have a budget coming up. We're still, investing in the fight against COVID, because we believe the fight against COVID and the economy go hand in hand. So we've, made major investments in extending supports for individual workers again this year, for businesses again this year, that were voted against by two parties, and supported by the Bloc Québécois. And that's important to us. What's important to us as a government is what's important to Canadians. And Canadians said loud and clear, we need to still be in the fight against COVID, and there's still issues with lockdowns in certain parts of the country, many, in fact, and certain businesses are struggling again. We need to be there for them. The tourism sector has been exceptionally hit hard by COVID. We have a new fund that was passed just before the holidays, that it once again was voted against by the Conservatives and NDP, but voted in favor by the Bloc. We can't let up on having the backs of Canadians. We can't give up, and we're not going to give up. And I think for me, it is absolutely a full court press every day, whether it is funding community groups, whether it is ensuring that I have a strong voice on the platform that's focused on health, because it's important to rural communities. It's important around making more investments in broadband, in the fisheries, in youth development. So there's lots what we're doing. One of the things that I'll be focusing on really hard this year is around affordable and accessible housing. It's not, some people think this is just an urban issue. It's a rural issue too, but it's also a rural opportunity. And we have several funds within our housing portfolio that we're looking at working with the municipalities on, and private developers on, and community groups. So I'm as excited as I've ever been to be an MP. I am so committed because so many people are so committed. And I'm just looking forward to this year. Listen, let's be frank, we're all getting tired. We're all tired. We're tired of COVID-19, the Delta variant, the Omicron variant. But let's keep a couple of things in mind. A lot of people are vaccinated, and that diminishes the impact. A lot more people are getting the boosters, and that will play a role. And then, how we move forward will be based on science and common sense, but we will get out of this year.
Well, I think we've learned things though, Mike.
We have.
I think new opportunities have popped up as a result of COVID and the lockdowns, new ways of doing business. I 100%. Think it's fantastic. To me, I have a very positive attitude about it. I think that all kinds of new things have come out of it, new, out of the box thinking. I love it. I love it.
I do too. I mean, look at the number of people, if I just base it on calls and emails to my office alone, of people who, in many cases, have no family in Cape Breton or northeastern Nova Scotia, but want to relocate in Ayrshire, want to relocate in Lordways, or Gabaroos, or Heatherton. There's a lot of families, a lot of people that now can work remotely. And that's why we need to ensure we have, strong broadband and cell phone coverage, because people now, in my opinion, have the ability to work from anywhere they would like in many cases. And, but they also want to have a high quality of life. And we're seeing a bit of a trend, I would say, in terms of rural renaissance. Now, does that mean that things are going to change overnight? No. But I mean, I think of some entrepreneurs that are in Richmond County today that weren't in Richmond County 2 years ago.
That's for sure.
Right?
Yes.
So I'm super excited. I know it's tiring, folks. We all have the stories of things that we wish we didn't have to do, or things that have prohibited us from seeing, such as loved ones, and that's tough. But we're going to get through it, and we just need to kind of push through a little longer. So if you haven't received your vaccines, please do so. If you have an opportunity to get your booster, please do so. And also too, think of somebody out there that you don't know, that you could help. And what I mean by that is, wearing your mask, social distancing. I know you've heard it before. I know it's a broken record, but we need to stop ranting and start doing and helping each other. If you go into any bookstore or any online bookstore, there are literally thousands upon thousands of books on self-leadership and self-care, which is important. But there are very few books on serving others. And I think that's what we need to think about this year and going past COVID. And our riding and the municipality of Richmond and all the other municipalities, we do best. History shows this. Recent history shows this. When we serve others.
With more electric vehicles hitting the highways these days, Richmond Municipal Council wants to try to add more electric charging stations to different parts of the county, in addition to the 3 districts in which these charging stations already exist. So here's a conversation all about that from the recent Committee of the Whole meeting for Richmond Council. To kick things off, here is District 5 Councillor Brent Sampson.
There was an announcement actually just after I added this the other day, but I think it has more to do with mid-range chargers that may focus on businesses and so on. But I know not this council, but previous council have discussed this issue in the past, but it may be time to ask staff to look into it again as to what funding opportunities may be available, and start the discussion. I figure this may also come up in our strategic planning, but where we've had a lot of discussion on tourism in the county and the lack thereof. Many people with an electric vehicle, they're very much aware, and often the GPSs are set up within these cars as to where the charging stations are. So if we find ourselves in a county without a charging station anywhere, I think they're going to pass right through. So possibly this may be something we want to explore, ask staff to look into what our options are, what costs would be, and what grants or government funding may be available, and if this makes sense for us going forward to look at whether it be one or multiple locations within the county, depending on cost and so on. I'll open the floor to discussion.
I would just like to point out that District 1 and District 2 each have a charging station in their location. I'm really surprised that 3, 4, and 5 isn't up to speed yet in 2021, but
Actually, there is a charging station in St. Peter's.
is there?
Yes, there is, down at the St. Peter's Canal. But to your point, Councillor Sampson, it's timely. Yeah.
I don't believe there's any of the top grade rapid chargers though, is there?
I'm not sure.
There isn't. So the only one on the island, I think that's the top grade rapid charger, is in Germans Island at the and they also set up the one in Ayrshire, I believe, as well at that location. But the top rate one is set up in Germans Island.
Mm-hmm.
However, a little bit out of the way, but I believe it's a 2 to 3 hour charge and it's at full charge, whereas your slow charge is like a 10 or 11 hour charge.
Yeah, but like what I was speaking of is, let's say in Monastery, for instance, the Petro can there, I believe it's, I don't know, is it 20 minutes, something like that? Like,
yeah, it's really fast.
Yeah. Like people that are passing through on their way on a trip aren't necessarily going to want to wait around 2 or 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Although, in theory, I guess that's better.
Maybe we want them to do that. Yeah, but I really do think that's a timely comment and a timely item for our agenda. It's the COP26 conference just, late last year. I believe there was a declaration made by, some of the major car dealers in some countries to try to transition to 100% electric vehicles by, I think of the year where it might have been 2040. I'd have to look up the details on that. So it's certainly a trend that's moving that way. And I think that's a great, it's a great consideration for our tourism efforts as well. You're right. So I guess, Councillor, you're seeking a motion from council to ask staff to investigate funding opportunities for the installation of these types of chargers?
Yes,
Okay. So would you like to make that motion then?
I'll make that motion that staff investigate what funding opportunities may be available. And it for possibly multiple types of chargers, and we could evaluate the whole process from there.
Okay. So we have a motion from Councillor Brent Sampson. Could I have a seconder on that motion?
So as the other district without one, I'll second it.
Deputy Warden. Thank you, Deputy Warden. That's great. All right. Any further discussion on that?
Before we go, I don't know if CEO Marchand has anything to add, just because I know this conversation has come up in the past before we were here, but I know that was a few years ago, I believe.
We want to get some ideas with respect to costing as well. Do you want to include that in the motion, or do you want to make a separate motion for that?
Well, I think if you're investigating funding opportunities, you need to know the cost. I would assume. I don't want to. I don't know. Do we need to kind of get into that level of detail, or?
I guess to find out what our options are, basically.
Yeah.
Just because I honestly have no idea what the costing is on these, and then as compared to what funding opportunities may be available.
Yeah. So I think the motion was to investigate funding on different types. You had mentioned, Councillor Sampson.
Yes.
Okay. Of charging units. Okay. Any further discussion?
Question?
Okay. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that motion is carried.
If you watched last week's edition of Telile 24/7, you might remember that I had a special report on unsightly premises and graffiti concerns around the Strait Area. In particular, we were looking at two parts of Port Hawkesbury, the Causeway Shopping Centre, and Granville and Lower Water Streets near the town waterfront. As part of that report, I spoke to John Bain, the director of the Eastern District Planning Commission. However, due to space and time considerations for Telile 24/7, we weren't able to air a large chunk of that interview. But we still thought you might like to hear what Mr. Bain has to say in terms of how the Eastern District Planning Commission carries out its responsibilities, but how it compares itself to other parts of the province, such as the town of Amherst, which does a regular policing spree along municipal properties every year. So we're going to continue with our interview with John Bain right now, and we'll head towards the town of Amherst as we do and talk about how what they do there compares to what the District Planning Commission does right here in the Strait Area.
If you're doing a policing function, like Amherst does, it's twice a year, and you know when it's going to happen, and they've got a scheduled a route to follow. Right. So if somebody complains, why is the town picking on me? Well, we're picking on you because it's the spring and we're doing our drive and you were street X in our schedule. Right. For me to do the same thing, I would have to really have again, routes set out, schedules set, to be doing it from an administratively fair approach, as opposed to just randomly driving around. So it does make it difficult, and so while the town would be probably easier, the services provided by district planning are equitable across the units.
Sure. And I would expect that as well. I want to go back to the graffiti issue, John, if I could, because this is the first time I've been able to discuss this with anybody in terms of graffiti being an issue. Is it a widespread issue in Port Hawkesbury? You mentioned checking the back of a couple of commercial properties here as well as municipal properties. Is graffiti and tagging a big issue here?
So when I drove around, the only place I saw tagging was evidence of tagging was stuff that was covered up on the Causeway Shopping Centre, and across that vacant field, there's another building that's just recently tagged. The former arena was terrible before the town took the initiative, and that was not an inexpensive fix for them to paint that building.
During this interview with Eastern District Planning Commission Director John Bain, I asked him what he had to say to municipal officials and local residents who weren't happy with the speed of investigations carried out by the commission. Here's Bain's response.
Again, if I close a file, so say it was your building, Adam, and you had some dealings with us and you addressed the unsightly issue or whatever the issue was. And then you find out that we're actually coming back every year or every 6 months just to check up on Adam to make sure that he's still a good boy, right? Mm. You're gonna feel that we're unfairly targeting you for whatever reason, right? The file's closed, and we open it when we get another complaint. And again, from an administrative point of view, that works for us, but it does cause some concern with repeat offenders. And so lately I've been looking at the policies and procedures of other municipalities, and some of the municipalities, or one municipality, and I think it was Amherst again, has a provision for what they've called repeat offenders. And that's somebody who they get a second complaint of a property within 1 year, but then they have the inspection section as well. So perhaps it's that they come back in twice in a year, and it's the same thing happening. Then they have more severe remedies that happen immediately. So I am doing a review of our policies and procedures, that as a result of a request from Victoria County and from the Ombudsman's office. So we are doing that to look at the better administration of it. I want my people to approach dangerous and unsightly premises with a degree of compassion. Because again, using you, Adam, as the example, if I came to you and told you that your house is so dangerous and unsightly that we want to tear it down, right? That's going to go to the top of all of the issues that you're dealing with in your life. That's all of a sudden going to go right to the top. It's going to be the thing that you want to deal with immediately, right?
Yes.
Some of the people that we're dealing with, and when we tell, they're there because of substance abuse, mental health, poverty issues. There's a list of reasons why that house is in the shape it is. And when I come to them and tell them, we're going to tear your house down because it's just one other thing, it doesn't even rise to the top 2 or 3 issues that they're dealing with, right? And so we try to be careful about that, and I absolutely try to have give my people my expectation that we deal with everybody with respect. The definition of dangerous and unsightly in the Act is pretty clear, and we do work with developers and property owners to get a voluntary compliance. 2 of the files that I mentioned at council the other night were dealt with within a week. In fact, I didn't even have files opened on them. I picked up the phone, I called the owner of the property, explained the problem. He explained the difficulties he was having with it, touched base with Public Works, and that was worked out so quickly that I didn't even open a file. So that's the spectrum, right? We work for voluntary compliance. If we have to issue orders, those are our last resort. The other factor is immediately dangerous, and there's things. So for example, on Granville Street, for a while there was a building was taken down, and there was a hole in the ground where was a cement foundation that must have been under the porch, and it was open. And so if you were walking just off of the sidewalk along Granville Street, you would have easily fallen into that hole. and Granville Green was on and stuff like that. And we didn't know about it, right? And we got a complaint. Somebody said, I almost fell in this hole. And I got Public Works to put some barriers up, and we got a contractor to fill it. And that happened immediately. Like when there's an immediate danger, we can respond immediately and do. So there's a whole spectrum of everyone's unique, makes my job interesting. It's the smallest proportion of the things that district planning does with respect to our total workload, but it's the loudest. That's why I'm talking to you about this, as opposed to the mandatory planning for the counties, or the
Yes.
municipal innovation program, or coastline protection, or rezoning that's happening in Bedeck, or building inspectors. Like there's a bunch of stuff we do. So
We'll have you back in a couple of weeks, and we'll devote the whole hour to the rezoning in Bedeck and to municipal planning strategies. Yes.
And then your ratings will fall right through.
Yeah, exactly. We'll go out in a blaze of glory. Here we go.
Yeah.
On a serious note, John, we've covered a lot of ground here. I expected we would. Did you want to add anything else about all of this?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to discuss it, and I appreciate your sensitivities. These files are difficult files, so thank you.
Yeah, no trouble at all. Well, we appreciate having you here. Thank you very much for joining us. John Bain is the director of the Eastern District Planning Commission. We've been speaking to him from his home office via Zoom today. And there you have it. That wraps up this week's edition of Telile 24/7. Thanks to all of you for tuning in, and a special thank you to Telile General Manager Becky Bourinot for her interview with MP Mike Kelloway. Don't forget, you can see the whole thing on Telile's YouTube channel. And thanks as well to my interview guests this week, Kevin MacEachern and John Bain. If you'd like to contact me with some ideas for future editions of Telile 24/7, or you just want to comment on what you've seen over the past hour, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me by phone with the number 902-625-8863, and you can contact me by email. My address is adamjrcook, cook with an E, @gmail.com. You can also contact Telile Community Television directly. The station phone number is 902-226-1928, and the best email address to use is info@telile.tv. Just a reminder that the Telile Community Television building in Arishat is closed to the general public. If you would like to speak with anybody there, you will have to do it by appointment due to COVID-19 restrictions that are currently in place around Nova Scotia. Don't forget to follow Telile Community Television on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. In addition to the interview with Mike Kelloway that I just mentioned, our Telile YouTube channel features every single edition of Telile 24/7, including this one, as well as our sister programs, Roundtable and Note Cote. And you can also check out the special COVID-19 local analysis that I've been doing over the past month and a half. We have every single one of the daily briefings for Nova Scotia, as well as some special segments at the beginning and the end of each briefing to help you understand how COVID-19 and the provincial restrictions affect you right here in the Strait Area. That's all for now. I'm Adam Cooke. Thanks once again for tuning in to Telile 24/7. I look forward to seeing you again with a brand new show next week. Bye for now.